Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Sons of Purpose podcast. This is your host Fran, as well as Diego and Akira.
We're here today to talk about relationships. In our previous video, some of you commented asking for us to talk about this issue, and we thought it'd be really interesting to discuss.
And first of all, you might ask, what kind of relationships? We consider that, I think we can all agree that relationships not necessarily only romantic relationships, but there's certain aspects of these bonds between different people, such as friendships and family relationships as well, that can vary between different aspects. And I think we should all basically discuss based on our personal experiences, because this definitely varies between person to person. So it might be interesting just cover the influence of certain things such as cultural backgrounds and various the way you were raised. So first of all, I think we should start with romantic relationships, because probably, even if it might sound ironic, but it might be the simplest concept of all of these we have listed. What do you guys think about this?
I feel like romantic relationships have been evolving over time. Not necessarily in a bad way, but neither in a good way. Because as you said, social media affects relationships. It can be either bad or good, but it depends on the persons. And I feel like romantic relationships also depend on whether a person is mature enough to deal with their emotions and with their partner's emotions. And social media could affect their emotions. Imagine if you're someone sensible and you don't like something, a repost, or maybe if you didn't like that she liked something or that she posted something. If you have a girlfriend, right? That could affect you. That could affect her also. If you overreact, or if you simply don't care about her posting anything. I feel like social media could affect several aspects about a romantic relationship.
And social media definitely has made it easier for people to be in a relationship, because in the past you were kind of stuck with people that you knew, people that lived close to you, people that lived in your community. However, with inventation of transport and social media, you can find people online, and it's much more easier to communicate with them. You can just type instead of having to send emails. Send messed it up. We're gonna cut this out. Cut that out. Okay. We can send mail, postcards. You'd have to travel in person to meet them. However, now social media, we can talk online, talk instantly, so it's made it much more easier that way.
Yeah, definitely. There's also certain things which might be qualified as skeptical maybe, but the rise of dating apps as well has definitely affected the way people get to know each other. And I don't know, I guess something you said, an important fact of being in a romantic relationship is being in a good mental state, because I do think that some people get into that just for the sake of it, because they want, just because the feeling of the moment, the need, because some people might perceive it as something that's necessary to experience, especially in our context, in high school context. There might be social pressures that maybe not everyone is affected by it, but definitely has an influence. So some people feel pressure to try to force their way into a relationship, even though they don't have the maturity enough for them to commit to someone else. And also, something very important is that they should be in a very stable mental state, because if this might sound a little bit cliche or something, but it's a reality. If you are not in good terms with yourself, if you don't have that personal stability, you definitely cannot be standing someone else, because at the end of the day it's draining. A relationship drains energy, not necessarily in a bad way, but it definitely you need to spend time with the other person. And if you're not in a good with good mental health, it's definitely gonna be a hard time for the two people in the relationship.
Yeah, and you know the saying that if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else?
Yeah.
And I think that's really true. Because how could you say that you love someone if you don't truly love yourself? And self esteem comes into play in that. And I feel like most of the time, people overlook their emotions because of their partners. And that also affects the self esteem. Because you feel unworthy of things, you feel unworthy of love. And if you feel unworthy of love, it's because you don't love yourself either.
Going back to the point about pressure that you are making, there's definitely more societal pressure in terms of social media to present yourself in the best way possible. And part of that is having like a wife, having a girlfriend, having some kind of relationship, and you want to present that as best you can to the world. And if you don't have that, you kind of feel left out, you kind of feel excluded, which can make you rush into a relationship without thinking about it, without truly seeing if you like the person or not, which leads to like many problems later on in the relationship that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I definitely agree with like both the points you said. If I could like combine both, definitely like the way you say that society like kind of pressures yourself on like you getting someone else, because I do think that some people, as I previously mentioned, are just getting into relationship because of the sake of it, because this might like vary into more like superficial levels. For example, a guy can be like clowned or get like laughed at for not like being able to like pull girls, you know. So that's something that greatly affects someone's self-esteem. So they might want to like reflect their self-worth into other aspects, such as I don't know their sexual life or something like that, because some people like mistakenly correlate your ability to attract other people to your self-worth, I think. And this is something that's been greatly like affected by social media, because this type of superficial like expectations that are imposed in people are definitely conveyed through social apps such as Instagram. And I do think that with the rise of these platforms, some people definitely can like mask up their immaturity, because how do I say it? Like if I could like talk maybe on like past experience. For example, there might be this girl and boy, okay? So let's suppose like the girl might have been into like relationships in the past, but the boy hasn't. So your notion of what a relationship is like is definitely affected by your past experiences. However, since social media has, I don't know, this, in my opinion, mistakenly exposed a portrayal of relationship with this like, I do feel it shouldn't be like this, because for me a relationship should like complement your life, should be like an addition to yourself, because as you said, like if you're not able to love yourself, then you definitely can't like spend the time like loving someone else, because it won't be healthy for you. So you first need to like find that like self-appreciation, and then you can commit to someone else. But social media, I feel like has, but more than social media, like society as a whole in this like recently years have like diverged the purpose of a relationship from that, from people just wanting like, I don't know, economic like stability, which maybe in the past was not necessarily bad. For example, I think we all have like read some book from like past event. For example, the Spanish society after the Civil War, or basically any time during like the early 20th century, when people had like this desperate need for survival and need to like overcome their situation, they might have been able to like have a need to seek stability on someone else. However, I feel like people like seeking for superficial needs in these times is not because of that. It's not based on the foundation of survival, but rather more of a need to like stand out. So back to the example I was saying, the fact that you've been in multiple relationships does not necessarily mean that you understand how is it to be in a relationship, because at the end of the day, if you've been like in 3 relationships that only last a couple of months, it means that it's something wrong with you. Even if a girl has been, well, girl or boy, it doesn't matter, has been in like 3 relationships and is jumping from partner, that has a deeper meaning because that probably means that they don't know how to be like in peace with themselves without someone external from their own self. The need of having a partner might like cover up some insecurities of being alone, like the fear of abandonment and being alone, which I think that due to the pressures like exerted by social media has definitely like increased in the last couple of years.
Yeah, society definitely has encouraged more relationships. People, they want to escape the fear of judgment of others, and so, like I was saying before, they rush into relationships that they're not ready for, simply to gain attention, to
Yeah.
gain respect. And this is like the opposite of the historical view in the past, right? Because in the past, it was one man, one woman, wife, marriage, kids. That was the accepted worldview at that time. But however, this has like changed in the last like 50 years or so. Let's say like since like the 1960s, like the feminism movement and the promotion of hookup culture, especially in the West, has like shifted the social paradigm. And so nowadays, at least, a lot more of what you're saying, which in some ways it is better with more freedom, but it also leads to some of the problems that you just said. So it's like a delicate balance between what society wants, between like freedom and the issues that you mentioned.
Yeah, and I feel like everything that we just said, like you mentioned it, the insecurities, or imagine looking for someone just for the economical stability. I feel like that's related also to like our self-worth, because in our society nowadays, everyone can work, everyone can go up and look for a job. Even if you haven't studied, you can go up and look for a job to take care of yourself, to pay your expenses. But and not like in ancient times, like women were not able to work, or they like put the women in a lower position of men. Nowadays, it's not like that. So everyone can now work, can now take care of themselves. So I feel like it's something that has a deeper meaning to it. Self-worth. What is self-worth? How do you value yourself? I feel like everyone, before going into a relationship, especially a romantic one, should value themselves, should value what they are. Not because of others or what others says to them, but because of what they think is special to them, or like what they think is good about them. Because if you learn to appreciate your good aspects, your good things, and you learn to appreciate your bad things also, you'll become a better person. If you become a better person, you will attract a better person. Someone who aligns with your goals. And I feel like that's what we need to look for in a romantic relationship. As you said, someone who compliments you. Someone who needs to be by your side, but not causing you troubles, but rather offering you solutions. Someone who helps you. But nowadays, with the hookup culture that you mentioned, do you think someone you hook up with in a night will take care of you if you have problems, or will help you if you have any sort of problems? No.
Yeah, definitely. Like people just seek for like superficial like well-being, and as you said, something about self-worth is that something that greatly affects like modern day like hooking up, like this hookup culture, is that if you don't have self-worth in yourself, you won't have the self-worth to leave if it's necessary, because that's something important. Because even if people like engage into like this, I don't know, plastic relationships, sometimes they're like afraid of leaving, even though it causes more harm to them than good. And this directly linked to self-worth, because someone who perfectly, not perfectly, but who knows who they are, who knows what they want, is capable of like deleting a person from their lives if it is needed. But someone who's insecure might hang on to a person for multiple things. For example, they might be afraid of being judged, for being dumped, or simply they are fear of being alone. And this something that people need to like understand. This concept of a partner being a complement of your life, I truly like stand with it. Someone like that other person needs to like stay with you. And you know, something that might be like kind of stereotypical, but I do believe the 3 month rule. You guys heard about it, definitely,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It definitely affects, maybe not specific 3 months, but it definitely, there's like a process, like a stage of like the honeymoon stage where like people are just, oh, like, I don't know, love and this, love and that, like sunsets and rainbows, you know. It definitely is real because like, have you heard about the term limerence?
Yeah,
Kind
kind
of.
of.
Yeah, limerence is basically the stereotypical like things about love, like feeling attracted to this person, like either like based on their personality or looks, wanting to be with them, like that positive sensation that's linked to love. But for me, love is like something more deeper, because limerence doesn't take into consideration acceptance. Because for me, this 3 months like stage, like approximately 3 months of like honeymoon stage, is basically just an embodiment of limerence, because both people are just like hanging around, having a good time. But like a serious relationship is more than that. It's about like unconditional support towards the other person, and that is linked to accepting their flaws. Which for me, that's what separates limerence and love, because love, as I said, involves support. And some people, when they, I don't know, they start to get bored, because this is very frequent. People like get bored of their partners, and that's how they start cheating, or they simply like, break up with them. And it is kind of sad. It's kind of like complicated, because if they don't realize what I'm saying, they always live this cycle. They'll like start meeting up new people. That person will, I don't know, they'll get bored of that person. They'll dump them. They'll start meeting someone else, and it's like a never-ending cycle that won't stop until you realize that relationships are cyclical. So that means that you won't always like be happy with your partner, but like being able to like come like get past these like, I don't know, negative like situations you may experience, like fights, disagreements. That's what actually makes love, and that's what's lacking in modern relationships, because people just want to like have a good time, either like physically or simply just like something to cover up their insecurities, you know?
Yeah, I think social media, with like Instagram especially, is worsening the issue you just described. Because if a person has like a fight with their significant other, then they just go on Instagram and start talking to some random people who are interested in them. And then so they think, oh, I don't need this guy who I'm having a fight with. I can just get with this new guy or this new girl. And then they solve their problem that way. They don't deal with the actual problem itself. They just leave the person and find a new one where they don't have to deal with that. And I think that's partly caused by social media and partly caused by the hookup culture. But it's definitely not healthy, and it should definitely need to be changed.
Yeah, you know, also the thing on Instagram, the notes or posting stories, or like in TikTok, repost, where you want to tell your partner something instead of just texting
the
them.
mixed signals.
Yeah, throwing mixed signals. Like, you can just talk to them, you know, you don't have to put other people in your relationship, or like, I don't know, like posting something to attract new people, you know, like catfishing people or something like that.
Yeah.
Like looking for attention when inside a relationship. I don't know, I feel like it just shows how much you love yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And what you said, like, I don't know, people using Instagram to like, I don't know, diss their own partners instead of like communicating directly to themselves. It's perfect showcase how like how rotten this I don't know hookup culture is, because at the end of the day, communication is an essential part of a relationship. If you don't trust your partner, imagine, okay, I'm gonna set this example. You hang out with your friends like on a Saturday night, and then your girlfriend like goes to a party. In the party, she gets drunk. Let's suppose you don't like. I mean, I guess no guy likes their girlfriend getting drunk, you know, especially when she's not with you. In this party, someone tells her, "Oh, your boyfriend is in another party." And then, okay, if this girl actually trusts you, the normal thing to do would be to text you and ask you, "Someone told me this. Is it true? Is it not true? Why didn't you tell me?" But like, there's in this situation, I feel like in this society, people might just like directly accuse their partner, you know,
Especially when they drunk.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine like if your partner has clearly stated that they don't like you drinking alcohol. I mean, they cannot force you to not drink because at the end of the day, you are your own person. Your partner is an individual person. But if you actually like care about them, you would at least listen to their advice, won't you think?
Yeah.
And if you drink without them knowing, which is something that you don't like, at the end of the day, you're just like emphasizing that you don't care about what they say. If you like start directly, like, I don't know, shooting like bullets towards their own face without like, I don't know, questioning if the thing they say is true or not, it shows that how people, well, I'm trying to say that people nowadays don't trust their partners when they should. And this mostly due to miscommunication, which is mostly caused because people nowadays, as we said in like the past like 3 hours in this video, just like try to have a good time, are just thinking about superficial things in a relationship and don't put the effort into like building actual trust, you know.